I'm Jim Collison and live from Gallup Studios here in Omaha, Nebraska. A little stormy Omaha, Nebraska. This is Gallup's Theme Thursday, Season 4, recorded on June 28th, 2018. Theme Thursday is a Gallup webcast series, if I could say it, that dives deep into the Clifton Strengths themes, one theme at a time, and today's theme is developer. If you have questions, comments, or contributions during this webcast, we do have a live chat room that's available for you right below the main video window down there. The login, bottom left-hand corner, there's a login button. Choose that. Choose the guest account. Put your name in where it says guest. Take those numbers out of there. Hit submit, and you can ask us questions live during the program. We do appreciate that, and it's very helpful when you get it in. Most important for the post show, by the way, you can only get the post show if you come to the live show. We'd love to have you come and join us live. And you can do that by following us on our Eventbrite page. Gallup.eventbrite.com is where we list all those things. If you're listening to the recorded version or have questions about custom strengths coaching solutions, you can send us an email as well, coaching@gallup.com. That's really an address for everything, coaching@gallup.com. Don't forget to visit the Gallup Strengths Center for all your Clifton Strengths coaching resources and training needs. You can also catch the video and both streaming and downloadable audio for offline listening to, we call them podcasts. That's available for you on just about any device. You can go to our resources page at the Coaches blog, coaching.gallup.com. One more thing, if you're listening on an iPhone, you can rate, review, and subscribe to us in the podcast app. Great way to do it. If you're on YouTube, on the live channel, or on our recorded channel, on the Strength Center channel, if you subscribe, you'll get notified every time we go live or every time we post a video. Again, another good way to stay up with everything that's going on. And if you do the audio-only version and listen to us on Spreaker, if you follow us there, you'll get a notification via email for that. No excuses for not being notified when we're live. Micah Librett is our host today. She's a workplace consultant here at Gallup. I think I haven't said this in a while, but might be my favorite workplace consultant here at Gallup. Micah, welcome to another Theme Thursday.
Thanks, Jim. This might be my favorite Theme Thursday of all time.
Well, that's good. Good to have you back. We are talking about developer today, and we've got a lot of things to say. Let's get right to it. As we think about developer, let's go back a little bit. Give us kind of the standard definition and a little bit of insight around it.
Certainly. So developer falls in that relationship building category. It really is a theme that's about noticing potential, spotting signs of progress in other people, deriving satisfaction from evidence of growth. People with high developer are drawn to people based on what they can become. I think about them as being able to help curate experiences that lead to improvement. It's a fantastic relationship building theme.
It's super important in the workplace. Oftentimes, I think this is one of the most underutilized themes that people have that we need to use more. Just as people need to learn and grow, and someone cares about my development, right out of the Q12. Really important that we're doing this when we're at our best. So for folks who really can deploy this talent, when they're at their best, what does that look like?
I think the value that a developer brings to a team is being accepting of others. This idea that they themselves are quite hopeful, and the effect that has on other people is that it can create teams that are full of hope. I think about what's spilling out if you're hopeful and you can see really focusing on not where we are today, but where are we going to be. I think it's that natural ability to say tomorrow's going to be better than today, and think about the effect that has on other people. It's a powerful motivating factor. Folks with high developer bring patience to the team, especially when they're dealing with inexperience, because again, they're not stuck on where have we been or where are we today, but where are we going? They're thoughtful, they're smart. I think about how to configure winning contributors, perhaps even how to configure effective teams. Jim, as you were mentioning something just at the start of how important it is to learn and develop, I think developer is one of those themes where we do have to remind people that it is a pathway of behavior, not an outcome itself, that we can all be developers of people. It's just in our own best way. When we're talking today about developer, we really are talking about those people who just naturally cannot help but think about how they can spot even small signs of progress, celebrate that progress, and really focus on trying to move the needle of growth for every person that they encounter.
Yeah, no, that's a great correction for me, Micah. I sometimes have a misconception that developers are all about learning. It's all about teaching someone to do something, right? And yet you bring a lot more elements, or as we think about it, it has a lot more elements about the person than it does about the process. Can you dig into that just a little bit more for me?
I think probably they probably go hand in hand. But remember, developer isn't a strategic thinking theme. It's not. You can listen to a lot of that I've said, and I think you can hear elements of futuristic, maybe elements of learner and input as well. Maybe even elements of achiever. That idea of what can we accomplish to move ourselves forward. But really, developer is more about how do I connect with somebody else? How do I connect based on potential? How do I notice small signs of improvement? I think a lot of times that relationship building aspect of developer gets maybe overshadowed for some of the more strategic thinking bits of it, or maybe even some of the more executing bits. But really, at its heart, developer is about this belief, this strongly held value and belief that that every person we encounter is on the pathway to getting better at something, and that kind of growth might be something nobody ever sees. It might be something that happens years down the road after they encounter you. But I think in many ways, developer really is about investment in other people because of that positive notion that we can all improve.
Yeah, in the pre-show, actually in the pre-show, you and I spent some
That's the
time.
super double secret
I know,
meeting
still
that Jim
a
and
double
I get
secret,
to
just
have
you and
every
me.
week.
And actually, I had left the phone line open, so if you dialed into the phone line, you probably could hear us talking. But um, I love that phrase as iron sharpens iron, and I love that, like, we have this opportunity to work with each other, and we had this developer moment between the two of us as you were challenging me to think through some of these things this way, but it went relational. It went very, very quickly. It's like, how can we make better use of, or deploy better use of these people's talents in this way to make them better? And I really like that relational aspect to it. When we think about what folks with high developer can do, what can they do more of? What kind of things can they volunteer or raise their hand for?
Exactly what you just said. I just want to rewind a little bit of how can we make them better?
Mm.
That might be the difference in many cases between developer and maximizer. Maximizer says, how can we do only the very best and make that better? Developer, I think, maybe focuses a little bit more on that relationship. How can I make you better? How can I grow people? So if you've got high developer, raise your hand for more out loud encouraging. Do you notice something that's worthy of celebration? Other people aren't going to notice the incremental growth that you notice. So celebrate in a way that gets noticed. You see not just what is, but what can be. So share that both on a social level, that might be what a person can become, but also on a project level. I think this does have some elements of thinking to it. So think about, how can our product be better? How can our service be better? Maybe even how can our partnership or our teamwork move up one level? Look for opportunities where your primary role is having responsibility for facilitating growth of others. Look for opportunities to teach, to coach, to manage people.
Yeah, Kurt would say, as we talk about this, I think in those early seasons, we have some of these things that point inwards towards us. In other words, it's for our own personal development. As we think about developer, it really has that outward focus. It's not about us, right?
Right.
It's really about, and we think about these packages that maybe individualization and empathy fit into. Developer is one of those that fits into this outward facing, how do I make other people better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just had a moment. This morning I'm playing Starbucks hopscotch right now, which is a really sticky marketing trick that I've totally fallen into. But after I pulled out and had my coffee, Ralph, it was espresso, so it was actually coffee. I was listening to season 1 of Developer on my podcast in my car, and I just had this moment where Danny Lee did a great job, and you did a great job of season 1, but it was one where we didn't get to hear Kurt. And I think you may have just made up for that, Jim, bringing back Kurt's ideas of those packages. So
Yeah.
a lot of these themes really are about my own progress, my own plans, my own effectiveness in the world, but developer isn't. I think it can be. Some of it can splash back over if you're very intentional about thinking, how do I hold up a mirror to my developer and think about myself? But really, where this one lies is that in that outward focus. I would. I don't think in packages like Kurt did. I wish I did, but I might also throw adaptability in there too. You mentioned empathy and individualization. I think adaptability falls in that sort of others or service package, maybe, of how do I focus on other people?
Yeah, some of my favorite stuff from Kurt, because he would always come up with these triplets or these these ways to
And I
package
just broke it. See, I can't do it. I made 4 things.
Um, Al Winsman, who's also writing the Mastery Mondays for us now, that's also a developer exercise from Al, right? This comes
Yeah.
out of a desire to really build, and he's using his talents of being able to write and communicate, but that is really a developer exercise and helping make us all better, to encourage us to do things. So if you haven't pulled that down, and Ralph had put the link in the chat room earlier, but if you haven't gotten the Mastery Monday for developer, head out to the coaches blog, coaching.gallup.com, and get that. When we think about environments that support this theme of developer, what would those be, Micah?
I think ask people about their goals and their strengths. You're going to be better if you aren't just reaching for places that people could get better, but if you know explicitly you're on the same page about where other people want to go. So land together on where the energy toward development already is. I think an environment that allows time on purpose, maybe even time literally on the agenda for recognition, is a rich environment for people with developer. Remember, you're going to notice growth. Permission or a platform to recognize that growth is going to benefit everyone.
There are some things that we can worry less about. And what are those as we think about this?
This is just who are you not, unless it's coming from your other themes. Developers don't tend to be selective with praise. Worry less about being that person who says, I'm really holding out for excellence when I praise somebody. All growth is good growth to you if you're somebody with high developer. Also, worry less about being okay with this phrase. It is what it is. You can't help but see potential for improvement. So don't dampen that drive for improvement or change by thinking you need to accept things as they are. Now, it could be that development is needed. It could be that a change in a role or a change in expectation is what's needed. But you're probably never going to see people as being static. You're probably never going to see performance as being plateaued.
So Ralph in the chat room says he just looked in Kurt's document, themes and pairs and packages. I think that's out there in our Gallup Webcast group. That's out there, and developer didn't show up there, so let's add it. I think I would say, as we think about this package of working with people, where it's not about you, where it's about others, I think that's a really good place to kind of
look at
put
that document. Thanks, Ralph.
fill that in. Yeah, no, and that's some of the best of season 1, by the way. If you're new to Theme Thursday, let me just talk about this, because Kurt was really a developer, right? I mean, he spent a lot of time developing in not necessarily directly or one-on-one, although he did a lot of that as well, but his influence was incredible, and he deeply cared about the progress that other people made in their strengths journey. And I think if you can attribute one of those themes, certainly that he cared about that deeply. Many of our coaches do too, Micah. I think this is probably one of a theme. This is going to sit well with a lot of our coaches that are listening to this, because that's their desire as well, right? That outward facing, to see the progress and to care about how other people, progress in that nature. Don't you think?
Yeah, and I think again it can come from a lot of different places. When that sort of service comes from a relationship building place, it is about the one-on-one connection that we make when other people get better. That desire to help other people or think about how something affects somebody else might also come from an influencing space, where it is more about the ability not just to affect yourself, but to have an effect on an audience or have an effect on somebody else. Could come from an executing place of I want other people to be served by this because it helps us do more and more efficiently or produce more. It could come from a thinking space where it is just this place inside your brain that knows that the world might be a little bit better or a little bit different, and isn't that interesting? But I do think that maybe that in itself, maybe that discussion over the last 30 seconds defines the idea that our themes don't tell us what we do, but how and maybe why we do them.
Yeah, during the summertime for me, and 25 interns this year on campus, spending a lot of time developing them. I really enjoy that part. It really excites me. During the rest of the year, that time gets a little less sporadic, and so I kind of put that on the back burner a little bit. But when we're working with people that have that high and are deploying it, what can we expect, or what can we look for in that?
Thanks. So we've just talked about what to do if you have developer. Now we're going to flip that filter and say, okay, what if you're working with somebody? You can expect patience in that person. They'll probably be quite patient with other people. Maybe a forward-looking focus, not stuck on where we are, but always asking and staying curious, even if it's just a gentle, soft, invisible nudge about how can we get a little bit better. Um, Also, I think expect that encouragement is going to matter to them. It might look, when they are encouraging others, it might look to you, if you don't have developer, like that they are being accepting or tolerant of low performance. But I think that's a misread of developer. I think you should probably see it as an investment or as an engagement in a process, engagement with a person, really saying, I'm interested, I'm in this, we're going to move forward.
Yeah. And my favorite question of the year, how do we recognize those?
Notice and recognize what they've helped other people do, and how they've helped other people perform. You might think about saying things like, hey, they couldn't have hit that target without your support, or you saw this in me before I saw it in myself. I also think speak their language, just like you would with any recognition. It's about really reversing the golden rule, not treating others as you want to be treated, but treating people as they want to be treated. So speak developer language. Spot some small signs of improvement. Don't wait until something is complete to recognize it, because chances are the moment has passed for developer who's looking at not just how do we get from A to Z, but what happens in between? What happens from B to C and C to D?
Michael, one of the hard parts I think about developer is they're oftentimes the one doing the recognition,
Yeah.
and sometimes they are really good at it, right? And I think in groups, it's easy for us to sit back and let them do that. One, they find great satisfaction in it, right? They
Yeah.
find great reward in themselves. It's more important for them to give than to get. It's more important for them to see others succeed other than themselves. I think if we're working with, and if you're a manager and you're working with someone, or you're in a team and working with someone with developer, I think you really need to be in tune that they need encouragement too. Like you've got to get this recognition part for them right. And again, you have to ask some questions. We can't say it in a podcast and expect it to be for everyone. You actually have to do some homework, and you have to do some developer on the developer, right? Get in there, dig in there. You say, you look like you want to say something. What would you say?
Well, I want to pull up what I've been focusing on. Jim, you and I this week have both been diving into Soar with Your Strengths. Mine has the old cover that looks a little bit like a Pink Floyd album, but I love it. And you know what? In the very opening, right after that great parable, this is Don Clifton and Paula Nelson, they talk about the myths that keep us from being strengths-based. And it just made me think about myth number 2, let the strengths take care of themselves. We talk, and this is, I'm gonna go a little bit, stretch this from what it is in the book. In the book, it says basically that's what keeps us from focusing on strength is we figure we're good at something, then we ignore it to focus on what we're not so good at, thinking that greatness will just stay or get better on its own. The truth of it is it doesn't. But I think the same is to go with strengths when we're talking about our own engagement, our own team performance. Just because a developer is really great at recognizing other people doesn't mean that we're just going to leave that alone and expect it to continue to sustain without some encouragement itself, right? You don't stop watering a tree because it's growing. And I think that's an important piece is, sometimes it's important to recognize the developers just as they are recognizing other people.
No, right on. And I think you can take some cues from what they're doing, but dig into that. And that can be applied to anything as we think about recognition. I think it's one of those pieces that you really need to kind of dig into and figure out what really turns the light on, what really gets them excited. What are those things that matter to them individually? And so let me encourage you to do that. Recognition is one of those things, but like a tree needs to grow. How do we stretch people that are high in developer?
Yeah, sure. So if I'm a manager of somebody with high developer, I'm going to look for opportunities for them to coach, to mentor, to teach others. But I'm not going to over prescribe how that needs to happen. I think it's important to leave the how to up to them. They're going to be less inclined to need a coaching guide, for example, or to need, here's exactly the milestones that I need you to cover in this mentoring relationship. But I am going to look for opportunities for them to really own that opportunity to facilitate the growth of others. I want to help them hone their ability to recognize and praise, to look at recognition as a skill, as a set that's going to make the most of that fertile ground of recognition that exists within developer. Offer them some feedback on how to give great recognition. My good friend Robin taught me in a session once that the recognition follows the acronym SIGN. I'm sorry if it's trademarked somewhere. I always just heard it from Robin, so I don't know. But it's specific, individualized, genuine, and now. And so there's 4 pieces that you could measure, you could rank, and sort how well you're doing with those sort of spotting of intimate, incremental growth, and that development in the moment, and how great a job they're doing at recognizing it.
Yeah, no, some good advice. When we partner with them and are working with them closely, what are some clues, some hints, some things we can do to help them?
I think we can be a really good partner by just don't let them hang on too long to chronic underperformers. It is, I think, a vulnerability of developer is they can always see that people can get better, and it's near impossible for them to need to say, okay, maybe this isn't the role for you, or maybe this person just isn't going to work out. Maybe this team or this expectation is better off if we let it go. Similar in many ways to some other themes that might not want to change course. If you know that someone isn't going to succeed in a certain role, don't hand them to a developer and expect that to be sort of a last ditch effort. I think have some open lines of conversation about where we have the greatest potential for growth, maybe, and help that developer really focus there. Also, be a good partner by demonstrating investment in your relationship with that person through sharing what your goals are. Understand, even if you're their manager, that they're going to want to see you in that lens of potential and that lens of growth. And they want to know that you are equally willing to talk about progress because they're going to be your best partner. So, that last point is sort of saying be a good partner by letting them partner with you.
You know, I think also bringing metrics into the equation of how are we making progress and how is that development being tracked? Because and there's lots of great software to be able to do this. There's lots of great systems that to be put in place. But I think to be able to in that conversation have those goals in place or have those metrics put in place or being able to say we're making progress in this area. It's kind of a hyper end of developer in giving them some actual things to track, to monitor, to hit goals to get to. I think those can develop some of the best days ever for a developer when we think about that recognition when someone else gets and achieves those goals. And this can go back to the recognition piece. I think is when you're in a team setting and you have a developer who's working with other people and the team or those individuals are hitting those, it's as important to it's as important to the person with developer as it is to the people hitting the goal that it gets recognized. And I think there's some things we can do from a team perspective to make sure it gets out there and it gets celebrated and it gets gets out there and gets celebrated. I don't know, any thoughts on that?
I think it's also an opportunity, back to how do you partner? It's an opportunity to align that celebration with our bigger goals. Sometimes developers might be more focused on that incremental growth that they don't naturally see. How is this adding up to something? Or how do I zoom out? And making sure that it gets out there and that it gets celebrated might be an opportunity for me to catch that and say, hey, because this happened, here's what that's going to lead to. Or because you did this, or because you're going to do this, here's the effect it's going to have on our clients, on our community, on our partners. And I think it gives us each access to some of those important conversations that need to happen in our own best way. So if you've got a way to jump into the party, jump right in.
Yeah. Micah, we've had some challenges we've been coming up with during this season. In transparently, it's crushing our developer a little bit. I think over the last couple weeks that we haven't got us. I think we were hoping for some more participation in this, both through the Instagram account at Strengths Talk and the Facebook group. Some of you, and you know who you are, have been super faithful in getting comments out there and hashtagging it with the theme so we know what it is. We do these challenges because we want to see you develop, right? I mean, that's just kind of what we're shooting for on it. They weren't the 10 suggestions, they were the 10 commandments. We're trying to get some things out to you, right? For you guys to
just elevated our role slightly.
Totally. Yeah. Did I make this a biblical proportion? I don't know, but let me just say, we really would encourage you to interact with us. This is an exercise we're doing for you because we want to hear back from you. We want to see you develop in these areas. So don't be shy about jumping into the Facebook group or jumping on Instagram or however you want to do it. Jim at Gallup, if you want to do this on Twitter. You can, and don't, because Twitter, for some reason, the coaches group doesn't like Twitter as much. But anyways, I digress. Micah, we got some challenges. How? What are they for the week? How are we going to do this?
My theory on why we haven't heard a lot of feedback on the challenges is they're hard. It's not just about naming something. It's really aiming it. And that's hard to do. It takes some effort. So if you can do it, we want to celebrate you. And it'll help us feel less crushed.
Boom.
So here we go. If you are high-end developer, number one takes a little bit of homework. I want you to study the 5 clues to talent and then select one to watch out for in others for the whole week. I want you to, and I'm not going to tell you specifically. Yeah, I am. Here they are. Satisfaction, glimpses of excellence, rapid learning, flow, and the other one is yearning. You can read more about them on our blog. There's just look for 5 clues to talent at coaching.gallup.com. You can also read more about them in Soar with Your Strengths if you've got that one. Essentially, it's what we used to use even before we had StrengthsFinder to talk about talent. I want you to study those and then select one of those 5 to watch for and recognize in other people this week. Number 2, count the number of people you feel you are currently helping reach a goal, and then increase it by 3.
Wow, that I would have said double it, but you're like triple it. I like it.
No, just increase it by 3. Now, if it's 1, you're tripling it. If it's like 37, you're just hitting 40. Awesome. You're just increasing by 3. Okay. And then number 3, write a note of recognition to someone, recognizing not just something that they've done and dusted, but recognizing their improvement. Write somebody a recognition note specifically about something that they've gotten better at. 3 challenges if you've got developer.
Before we jump into the lesser challenge theme, let me encourage the community for just a second. So the interns have been currently working on a project to help the coaches blog be better. And so coaching.gallup.com, if you're not familiar with that, you should head out and head it. By the time you listen to this, we might have those changes deployed. We've been getting a ton of great feedback and a ton of great encouragement from the coaching community, by the way, that has helped me and my developer really encourage our high school. These are high school interns we're talking about that are doing this project for the coaches. And I have seen them grow, which has been great. They are actually watching your comments on Facebook. So as we've put out live links, trust me, for a software developer, different category here. For a software developer, getting instant feedback from the community is sometimes brutal. You'd think it's great. It's not always great. But the coaching community has done a really good job of encouraging them. And, we're getting comments like, yay, interns, and good job, and some of those kinds of things. And it's helped me develop them. So thank you to the coaches community that's helping me out with that. We appreciate that. That's one of those things when you think about your impact in being able to help develop people, those things are super key. So Mike, as we think about the lesser theme challenge, say we don't have developer, and I know some of the comments I've gotten this week are from people who probably don't have it high, and that's okay. There's other themes kicking in there, but with the lesser theme challenge, what would we look for?
This is really if you don't have developer and it's getting in your way. If it's a lesser theme, 2 challenges for you. One is focus on one important relationship. What does that person do better today than they did a year ago? Tell them. Number 2, if you don't have high developer, you might be more inclined to challenge people than you are to encourage them. So notice how you do both. How do you challenge? How do you encourage? And then name a time for each of those when each of those is appropriate. You might find if you don't have developer, it's a little bit more of a stretch for you to encourage without it being a duel or sort of laying the gauntlet. But just do a little bit of self-reflection there. When do you challenge? When do you encourage?
Yeah, and I'd say look for opportunities if you're not, look for those opportunities to encourage when it may not seem intuitive either. There are people struggling all the time, and they just need a little bit of encouragement from you. And even if you don't have developer, you can deploy that, and that's just a great thing to do. By the way, encourage when you see something great, when you see something good, say something. If you're feeling happy, tell your face, so we all know. Okay, Micah, you like that one?
If you're feeling happy, tell your face.
So we all know. All right. Any final thoughts as we think about wrapping
That's
up?
Definitely the final thought. I don't think I can move beyond. If you're feeling happy, tell your face. I'm going to sing that. If you're happy and you know it, tell your face.
Yeah, right on. Right on.
Awesome. Final
thought.
thoughts. Actually, yeah, I want to read you I wasn't going to do this because I know I was going to murder reading this person's name out loud. Goethe. How do you say it? Goethe. He's an important person, and I can't say his last name. But in the Clifton Strengths resource guide, this is one of my favorite quotes, and it's the developer one. It says, "Treat people as if they were what they ought to be, and you help them become what they are capable of being." Bam.
Bam. Well, we appreciate you guys coming out live. Again, stay around for the post show. You only get the post show if you come out to the live program. We don't make that available anywhere else, but it's a ton of fun. You can ask us questions in the chat room. We'll remind everyone to take full advantages of all the resources we have available at the Gallup Strength Center, just gallupstrengthcenter.com. Send us your questions or comments if you'd like to be a guest blogger and you've got some idea in your head. We're looking maybe for 400 to 600 words around strengths. We'd love to have you flesh that out and send it to us in an email, coaching@gallup.com. Put guest blogger in the subject line. That'll get routed over to Micah, and we'll consider it for our coaches blog. You can also catch the recorded audio and video of this program, as well as all the past ones, on our social page. So head out to coaching.gallup.com. Actually, on the blog, it's all listed there. If you want to get subscribed to everything, know how to do this automatically, which you should. Why shouldn't you? You need to develop in that way. You can we go to our resources page. All the links are there that make it available for you to do that. If you're interested in becoming a Gallup certified strengths coach, you can see a list of all of our courses that lead to it. Courses.gallup.com. Clifton Strengths Summit is coming up July 16th, 17th, and 18th of 2018. Mike, I can't wait to see you. It's going to be great to have you here. When are you teaching, and what are you teaching?
I'm teaching a recertification or a certification course. I don't know which one. Whichever one's on Monday at 2:30. They both are. I still don't know which one I'm doing. And then I am helping out all of our breakout session leaders. And then at the very close, I get to teach a gigantic session about how to use our great coaching tools.
Awesome. I think I'm going to crash that 2:30. Would it be bad if I just showed up for a few minutes early? Do you think?
No, but it sort of might be a little I don't
disruptive.
Know, starstruck-ish. I hope you do. I hope you come in so that people just go, "Oh my gosh."
I will probably crash it. It's going to be pretty awesome. We cannot wait to see you guys. For the folks that are coming out for the summit, if this is after the summit, we probably have another one scheduled and ready to go. You don't want to miss that one. CliftonStrengthSummit.com will get you there as well. When I mentioned the Facebook page, I didn't mention how to get there. Facebook.com/groups/called-to-coach, all one word. Get you there. We have some 11,000. Micah, we just crossed over the 11,000 mark on that group. So we appreciate you guys. I know it's pretty big and pretty great. So we appreciate you guys being out there on the Facebook page, and a great way to have conversations and put those challenges out there. We want to hear from you because you're crushing our developer. We want to remind you, we do this just about every Thursday, and we've got a bunch more to do. We'd love to have you join us at it and join us live. We look forward to the next theme Thursday. And with that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.